I read the news today. Oh boy. Taylor Swift just bought her masters from her early catalog. I'm talking the first 6 albums of her discography. And this has been long in the works, long in the making. Rewind to 2019 when her former record label, Big Machine, was acquired by super agent, super manager Scooter Braun's company, Ithaca Holdings. And with that purchase of Taylor Swift's old record label, he acquired the first 6 albums of Taylor Swift's discography. And Taylor Swift, in response, just voiced devastation, disappointment, betrayal. She was pretty pissed off about that acquisition because she said in her statement, "Now my music is in the hands of somebody who tried to take my career down," basically. So they did not, at least at the time, and I don't think they've reconciled, but they don't have a good relationship. And so at the time, this was big news that Taylor Swift, arguably the biggest artist of the generation, certainly top 3 artists of the generation, was unable to own her own masters at that point of her career. So what did Taylor Swift do? She went back to the studio after declaring that she was gonna re-record those 6 albums, and she was gonna call them, or she eventually started calling them as she would be releasing them, Taylor's version. So these were slightly tweaked. They were basically her going back and doing from her earliest stuff to her 3rd, 4th album, you know, some of the classics like 1989 and Red and Fearless, all that. She was gonna go back and record those, but from the present. So you have this older artist doing her work from previous years and eras. And we're gonna get back to that specific word as well. So she started recording these albums, or should I say re-recording these albums and releasing them, not in chronological order, but she got to Red, 1989, Fearless, and Speak Now. The only 2 that remain are her self-titled debut and her 6th album, Reputation. So she re-records and re-releases these albums with wild success. Like each one has its own, new singles that are floating to the top of the chart, and people are loving this new Taylor's version of this hit or that hit because there are different nuanced differences and sometimes more obvious differences between that and the original. So she's having just success on top of success with these re-releases, basically reclaiming her music in her own way, while somebody else who would then sell her catalog to somebody else were actually owning those original masters. So not only did she re-record those first 6 albums, but she's also, releasing new albums, right? So you had Lover, you had Folklore, Evermore, you had Midnights, and then most recently the Tortured Poets one. So she's basically got these parallel careers going and is just building on her overall reputation, pun intended, and resume, and would eventually become like Time's Person of the Year. Like that's how crazy it got for Taylor Swift in terms of levels of fame and just overall adulation and accomplishments. But it would be the Eras tour that she would embark on that would end up being so successful that it would earn her the capital required to then go back and finally purchase her own music. So that's what she did. And it was largely, again, the revenue driven from the massive record-breaking Eras tour that ended up enabling Taylor Swift to finally own her original catalog. So she's just winning and winning and winning. And she wrote her own statement thanking her fans, saying that this has been a long time in the making, talking about how much this has always meant to her to own her own music. And so she now does that. And she said that she is going to at some point re-release her self-titled debut, and she's less sure about Reputation. She doesn't think there's anything new that she could do to it. Maybe it's because it's more recent than the other ones, but she doesn't feel like there's anything she could touch on to really improve upon the original. So she did re-record at least a single from that song, which was introduced through one of the last Handmaid's Tale episodes. They kind of premiered it on that episode, and it was again a Taylor's version of a Reputation song. So she said that she has recorded a couple songs from Reputation, but she doesn't have any plans of releasing that one or re-releasing that one's Taylor version anytime soon, but maybe at some point that'll change. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about this. Basically you have one of the most powerful artists in modern music finally able to be a big enough fish to own. I mean, it sounds crazy, right? That it took all this time for Taylor Swift to own her own music. But I mean, you've got horror tales in terms of people's business dealings in the music industry. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this. And also, should Taylor Swift basically be streaming and probably re-releasing she's probably going to re-release her original music. There's going to be some way she capitalizes on this purchase of her original stuff in a real way. Like, she's at some point, I'm sure, going to re-release everything on vinyl, both her Taylor's versions and her original versions, or offer some bundle where you could get like 1989's original and the Taylor's version. I don't know, but I'm sure she's gonna use this new acquisition, and I hate to put it in such, rigid technical terms, but there will be a way that she's not only going to capitalize on it monetarily, but also reputation wise. Like, there's going to be something massive that she does with this original music, or some gesture she's going to make to thank her loyal fans. But yeah, there's just no stopping Taylor Swift at this point. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments, and congratulations to Taylor Swift for owning her own masters. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.